So this is the beginning of a vlog channel I'd like to do. So a quick introduction. My name's Matt, in case you don't know. I am from New York. I am a born and raised New Yorker. And I decided that it would be a good idea to leave the United States and move to France. Monaco, to be precise. So I just got here a couple days ago. I decided not to do this video before because this place looks disheveled as shit, and it's really a mess. I still have all my shit just like unpacked on the kitchen floor. I mean, like I set up stuff in the kitchen and everything. I've been like slowly going about unpacking, but like this is the first time I've been on my own, at least outside of the US. So for somebody who's only really known New York for his entire life, it's an extreme culture shock. But this is where I live. I guess this is an introduction. This is just outside of Monaco. I think this place is super cool. Compared to what I would have paid, yeah, the kitchen table's really dirty and shit. Don't worry, ignore that. And that too. But compared to what I would have paid in New York, and there's the American flag. This is nothing rent-wise compared to either Hoboken or New York. I was living in Hoboken before I came here. But there's a lot of interesting quirks about this country. There's a lot of really interesting things about the culture. So many things that are just different from everything I've ever known before. And I think the best part about this place is what I'm going to show you now, and that is this. So, yeah. This is pretty fucking cool, if I do say so myself. That's the Mediterranean. And out there, well, in that direction generally, if you were to continue walking straight from this point, you would end up in Algeria. So, this place is just, it's breathtakingly gorgeous. It's unbelievably gorgeous. And like I said, for the rent compared to what I would have paid in New York, this is nothing. This is absolutely nothing. And one thing that's, you know, sort of annoying to get used to is that it's so friggin' hot all the time. Oh my God. I don't know how these people live like this. It's just they bake in the sun. It's insane. But this is just a quick introduction. Actually, I'm on my way to the school that I'll be going to soon, the University of Monaco. I'm gonna take a walk over there. It's about a 25-minute walk. It's nothing too bad. But just a quick little thing. This is the little living room. It needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of personal decorative touches and such. This is the kitchen stuff that needs to all be cleaned up. I haven't had the time to sit down and actually go through everything and sort everything out. I've been doing it little by little. The kitchen is, I mean, I went out and bought all this food stuff. This is the first time I've ever really cooked for myself. I mean, in school I had cafeterias and such, at least back in the US. So I mean, I cooked something last night for like the first time I could, and it actually came out fantastic. So I'm very excited to continue doing that. This is one thing I'm proud of. This is my my photo wall. It's all my friends and family from back home. I tried to get as many people as I can in there, and those of you who know me, so most of you people watching this at least right now are probably going to know me. So if you have any photos you want to put on the wall, I will let me know. I'll give you the address, then you can mail them to me, and I'll stick them right up here on the kitchen wall. So I got family, I got friends, I got my dog, that little pupper right there. She's a cutie. I miss her. But yeah, I'm hoping that this wall is going to be covered eventually, and then maybe I can put some in some other places, maybe around here or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens when I get there. But right now, I'm just gonna head out. And I'm gonna go, oh wait, I forgot to say, this is the bedroom. This is probably what I put the most effort into at the moment, doing the bed and everything. And I like the American flag up there. It reminds me a bit of home. Well, it reminds me a lot of home. And then the terrace is just, it's amazing waking up in the morning to see just that gorgeous site. It's really, really something special. But like I said, I'm gonna head off to my school now, and I'll probably add some clips in from the walk there, explaining and showing what this place looks like and what it is. So one thing that's super cool about this place, well, there's a lot of things that are super interesting about this place, but this entire stretch of land, so all of the French Riviera between here, well, anywhere between the sea, which is down there, and then up there, which is the I don't know if you can see the peak. I think that's La Tête de Chien. That's a fortress. I'll do a whole nother thing on that. But all of that corridor between the sea and these mountains is maybe a mile at most, and this is where all of the infrastructure is, all the houses, all the shops, everything is built in this tiny ass little corridor. And well, I mean, for good reason too, because like just look at that. Like that's amazing. That's something I'll never get old. I'll never get tired of, is the Mediterranean. You can see, you probably can't see in the video. I'll do another video closer to the Mediterranean, but you can see how clear the water is. It's just, you can see all the way to the bottom along the shoreline, and it just goes out and for miles and miles on end without a cloud in the sky too. That's one thing about this place. It never rains. I've been here for almost a week so far. I've seen the weather forecast for the next 2 weeks, and it rained for maybe 45 seconds the other day, and then the clouds just disappeared. Like they didn't even like it. It's not like, oh, you know, I'm gonna come and rain on your parade and then go and rain on somebody else's parade. It's just no, the clouds rained for 45 seconds and then literally just evaporated into thin air. It's really amazing. Oh, and they do drive on the right side of the road here in France. The only people who drive on the left, as far as I know, are the Swedes, the Brits, and the Swedes, Brits, and I think Singapore drives on the left, or Thailand. There's a couple countries that drive on the left, but not many. There's very, very few. But like, this place is so amazing because it's just so, it's all just these little pathways. All these little pathways that just wind around and down, and there's no, you know, it's not like New York where you have like where you have these gridded streets. You know, even where I come from in Staten Island, it's not Manhattan per se, but it still has these gridded street types to them, and streets are very clearly labeled, and they're often pretty wide, even though they're one way, a lot of them. But here it's like, it's mostly just pathways and these narrow sort of sidewalks that traverse the terrain here. And my apartment, at least, is like, I'm 238 feet above sea level, and I'm maybe less than a half a mile from the sea. So traversing this place is a bitch, because you just climbing up and down mountains all the time. It's so brutal, and then with the heat too and the humidity, it's insane. You end up in a pool of sweat by the time you get wherever you were planning to go to. But the architecture around here is another thing. Like I mean, we'll come up on that in a second, but the fauna and the flora, it's really something to behold. It's I can't stress enough how gorgeous this place is, and how everybody needs to see this place at least once in their life. I mean, maybe not this specific town, but the French Riviera in general needs to be seen. It just is really such an amazing place. I think now is a good time to marvel at the architecture here. It's just like, you know what, it almost reminds me of what parts of California look like Beverly Hills and such. And granted, this place is much older, and places like that are more than likely trying to replicate here, but these streets are just so narrow and winding. And even these newer buildings, like this apartment building here, is maybe 15 years old at most. it's amazing because they try their hardest to replicate the style of architecture of the villas around them. So all these villas that are beyond this fence here, and I mean there's better views I can get at a different time, but all these villas are very, very old. They've been here for probably close to 100 years, and you know, oh, here's a great example. This right here, this is actually a street. This is Escalier des Luciots. It's that's an awful pronunciation, I'm sorry, but my point is that these streets they're not even streets, they're just pathways with staircases on them, and there's entrances to houses along the sides of them, and they're sort of shortcuts if you're not on a bike or a car, but this is what walking down the street would be for someone who lives around here. Like, they would walk down these paths while walking down the street. For an American, you know, you're walking along the road on the sidewalks, parallel to the road. So it's definitely a different way of going about traversing the land in general, and it's something that, like, it may seem like a small difference. Well, not a small difference. It may seem like an insignificant difference, but this is just one of many things that forces you to change the way you go about life. So I'm gonna wait here for this truck to go by. Yeah, these streets are so narrow that there's really no paths for walking down here. It's just mostly for cars. I mean, there's cars parked on the side, and then there's just cars that come through this way. See, like right here. I gotta get out of the way. But it's a lot of the streets in this area are like this, and a lot of I wouldn't say a lot of streets in France are like this necessarily. Depending on where you go, I think it'll be like this. The entire French Riviera is basically like this, with these extremely narrow streets with very little room to either drive or walk. And it's pretty amazing how close the cars get to you. In America, at least back home, cars got pretty close to you. In New York, it's just nobody gave a shit. But here, nobody gives a shit at all. They will drive inches away from you, and I mean, sometimes they'll even run your feet over. And that's just the way they are around here. So definitely a very interesting way of life. Now is probably a good time to mention that tiny little place in the distance. I don't know how well it can be seen, but this is all Monaco. All of that back there is Monaco, but that place that looks like it has the arches on it, that's Stade Louis II. That's where my school is, and that's Louis II Stadium. That's where the AS Monaco soccer team plays, and my school is actually, funny enough, built into the side of their stadium. So it's I visited there the other day, and it's really, really fascinating. I mean, the view here, here's a better look at the place. It's breathtaking. The video and pictures don't do it any justice, and I'll try to get 4K video of these places soon enough, but it's really just an amazing sight to behold. I'm just at a loss for words at the beauty of this place, the natural beauty. So I'm walking down one of Les Escaliers again. And, you know, I'm not going to explain this. I'm just going to let it sort of speak for itself. But, down there, actually, is one of the beaches. It's one of the only really sand-covered beaches I found around here. It's actually, that's in Monaco. So that's just over the border in Monaco. Actually, I believe it might actually be split between this city, Cap d'Aille, and Monaco itself. But yeah, that's one of the only sand beaches. Most of the beaches you see around here, at least along the Mediterranean, are mostly filled with small, smooth pebbles. The French Riviera itself has a very rocky shoreline, and you can climb the rocks. Nobody's going to stop you, but they're very sharp. They're very sharp and jagged, and they hurt your feet. But I guess you get used to the locals around here. Probably are used to them because their feet are calloused from climbing all over them. But even the small, smooth pebbles, they really dig into your feet. And I guess, like I said, you get used to them. But you know, it's just really, it's really such a fucking fascinating sight. it's yeah. Again, can't recommend coming here enough. Now here's something that's really interesting and is really different from the U.S. So right now I'm on the edge of Cap d'Aille. Oh, sorry, edge of Cap d'Aille, which is basically means the edge of France. And this intersection here, that's Stade Louis II, right there. This whole big stadium is Stade Louis II. See this dotted white line here? Come on. One thing they don't have here is stop signs. Stop signs don't exist. You just walk out into the road and hope you don't get hit. This line is the border between Monaco and France. And now I'm in Monaco. I just crossed over that border. It's technically what I'm doing is illegal, but it's quite amazing to see it anyway. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. So now I am in Monaco, and it was that easy. There was no border control, no nothing. That intersection there, that roundabout, was the border between two completely different and independent countries, France and Monaco. What's cool about Europe is that most places, most European countries, at least the ones that are in the Schengen zone, are like that, where there are no necessarily patrolled borders. Switzerland's a different story. Switzerland has a very thinly patrolled border, but a patrolled border nonetheless. But with that being said, I have to walk around. They're doing construction here. All right. Here I am at the school. So it's not that bad a walk. It's just I'm sweating like crazy right now because I'm so used to having a cooler climate in New York. But there's the school over there. It's so crazy. I walk between two countries. I mean, to get between like the U.S. and Mexico, I'd have to go through like miles of armed guards, and coming here. It's such a different way of just fun. It's such a fundamentally different way of living, and it's something I definitely have to get used to. But I'm very excited to get used to. So I will. I'll be going into the school now to see what's up with them. So I'm gonna go head down to the beach. It's like 6 o'clock. But I'd like to display the this is what the interior of a town in La Côte d'Azur, the French Riviera, would look like. It's very narrow. Stairs are very old looking. The walls look like they're chiseled by hand almost. I don't know exactly how they were made. I'd have to look into that. But see, there's a entrance to a house right there. But these stairs, they just, oh god, there are so many of them. They seem to never end. It really sucks if you're not in the best of shape. But there you go. That's what the French Riviera looks like. It's gorgeous. But yeah, right now it's about 6 o'clock. Funny enough, sunset here doesn't really happen until around 9:45, 10 p.m. maybe. While back in New York, sunset was usually around 9 o'clock. If anything else, that would be considered very late. But yeah, the days here seem to be a little bit longer. I think it's just because of the way that the time zones are and the differences in time between New York and here. But this place is just a marvel of architecture. Every corner of this gorgeous place has its own, has its own history and its own quirks to it. Like, for example, during the Second World War, this place was occupied by the Italians This part of France was Italian occupied once France capitulated to the Germans, including that includes Monaco. And then once the Italians capitulated in 1944, I believe it was, the Germans came in and took over, and they actually occupy the fort that overlooks both this place in Monaco called La Tête de Chien. I mentioned it before. I'd like to visit there one day. Trying to go soon, but it's extremely hot here, and I mean, I can be outside for 3 minutes and be sweating my ass off. I'm just not used to the climate yet. But most people here, they walk around wearing pants and, you know, long sleeve shirts and suits and stuff, and they look like they're not sweating a bit. So it's just something that I have to end up getting used to. I'm sure it'll happen over time, but as of now, it's been difficult adjusting. Now, we're coming up. Well, here's something interesting. So French houses, at least around here that I've noticed, every French house has the family name on the front. So over here, there's a Les Oliviers. That's the family name. So you know that the Oliviers live there, and there's a number on it as well for postal service and such, and for address locating. But every house, even every apartments aren't numbered. They have names on them. So my apartment is M Chaccio. I mean, it's still apartment 504, but it has M Chaccio on it. And every villa or house here has the family name on it. So for example, actually a couple blocks down that way is the Lumiere Villa, and I'll talk about that in more detail later when I go actually walk by it, and I'll show what it looks like. But quickly, the Lumieres were basically the grandfathers of film. They were some of the most prominent French filmmakers who lived probably over 100 years ago at this point. When I was in Hunter College, when I took my film class, my professor just talked nonstop about the Lumieres, about how great they were and how influential they were in the film industry. But here's a look at what some of the architecture is around here, and just what the streets look like. And they're very narrow and winding, like I said, and they're very difficult to navigate compared to the grid system that I'm used to coming from New York. So there's a street sign, Chemin du Ragnoso. But yeah, I think I have to go this way. Yeah, I have to go up this way. So streets just go up and down. I mean, it's all, like I said, it's all cliffside. All of this is just built into a cliff. It's really amazing, actually. And over there is a sign. There are many of those that are put here by the city. And hold on. And the city puts in these signs as like navigation. So you'll see arrows pointing in whatever direction that certain landmarks would be. So, for example, the Centre Ville, which is the city center, it'll point up that mountain there where that road actually went up to. But here's what the streets here look like. Really gorgeous. It's not. This video doesn't do it justice. I mean, even though this is 1080p, even 4K video wouldn't do this justice. I'll start filming in 4K once I'm able to get more storage on my Mac, but 4K doesn't even do this anywhere near justice. It's something that you have to see at some point, and I think I've said that about 6 times already, and I will say it millions more times. It's really amazing. And here's something. Like I said, there's no sidewalks on either side, so there's little painted roadways, sort of like bike paths in New York, but for people who walk. So people who walk have to stay on this side. Well, they don't have to, but if you don't want to get hit by a car, you don't want to be in the way of traffic, then you're probably going to want to stick to these pathways. But bikes, like bikes that you pedal, they share the road with drivers. There's no special bike lanes or anything. They don't ride on sidewalks. They share the road with drivers, and more often than not, drivers would either just go around them, or bikes would go around drivers, or they find ways to get around. But it's just This place is just breathtaking, and I've been outside for maybe 5 minutes now, and I'm already sweating my ass off, just because of how hot it is all the time compared to back home in New York. So you could see the cars, how all the cars are parked on one way. This is actually one-way street. The arrow indicates that. A lot of these streets here are one way because they're too narrow for two ways. So we're coming up here on the beach, and I'll show that off when I get there. So this is what the beaches look like. This is actually right here. This is a picnic area. It's a public area that you can take food out to and bring your family and friends around. But it leads down into what's more or less a beach. It's not, like I said before, I think I mentioned before, it's not a beach in the traditional sense of the word, but nonetheless, you could still go swimming in the Mediterranean. It's fucking gorgeous. So this is actually what the shoreline here looks like. Most of La Côte d'Azur is this rock, these like sharp, jagged rock formations. Here's actually a restaurant. They play flamenco music at night. It's really nice to go swimming at night when they're playing the music, but it's all very jagged and it's rough on the feet, and the rocks down there are more or less what you'd probably see on like the air quote beach areas. But yeah, there's just people just like hanging out on the rocks and shit. You know, it is what it is. You can go down here. There's you can go swimming down here if you want. Let's see, where do I want to go? Let's go to this other beach over here. So this is it. This is the main attraction, La Mer Méditerranée, or Mediterranean Sea. If you want to go even deeper into translation, comes from the Latin root Middle Earth, the Sea of the Middle Earth, Mare, well, the Romans called it Mare Nostrum, our sea, but Mare Mediterranee, Mediterranus is a sea of the Middle Earth. So it's absolutely gorgeous. Let's see if we can get around. I had to go for a dive already. I'm sorry. It was just too hot out to not. Oh, it's so nice. It's super cool. This is just the coolest fucking thing in the whole world. I mean, for God's sake, you can see all the way out to Cap Saint Jean over there. All this is like all mossy. It's all rock. It's all just jagged rock, and you just walk right up and go swimming in. The water is actually, it's cooler. It's cool, but it's warmer than the ocean. It's actually pretty nice, especially when it's really hot out here. One thing though, it's really, really, really salty. If you've ever tasted ocean water, it's like that type of salt content times 3. It burns your eyes, it burns your skin, and when you come out, it leaves you with a layer of salt across your skin. So last time I went swimming here, I had a whole layer of salt across my face. I had to wash it all off. But it's beautiful. You can see all the way down. It's crystal clear. Depending on where you go, it's clearer than in other spots. But the French government puts these railings in all over the place. They exist all over. And you just walk right down to the sea. I mean, it's not like a sand beach. There is one in on the other end of town next to Monaco. It is public, but it's very crowded. I prefer this. I find this to be the more culturally, what's the word? I don't know, the more cultural way of going swimming in the Mediterranean than just a man-made beach. But this is, like I said, here's all the stones. So they're just like smooth. They're decent size. I mean, they hurt your feet, but you get used to them. But yeah, it's very clean. At least over here it is, and you just come right down. Nobody bothers you. I mean, there's no lifeguards or anything, so I guess if you're into that, that's cool. But if you prefer lifeguards, you might want to go to the man-made beach. But if you're fine with swimming in a non-man-made, non-patrolled beach, then this is probably the best spot to come down here. have a sandwich, have a drink. No one's gonna bother you. Go swimming. It's a really, really good time. It's just these are really hard on the feet, these rocks. So definitely a highlight of the French Riviera is the Mediterranean Sea. Definitely go in. You know, every so often you'll see these joggers who run along the walls. These walls traverse all down there and then all in the opposite direction as well. And people just go running and then dive into the ocean. So it's pretty fucking cool if you ask me. But I'm gonna go swimming again. So yeah, that's the Mediterranean. It's really really quite a remarkable marvel of nature. Oh, there's a little gecko. Look at him go. It's a lizard. I don't know if you can see him. Yeah, he crawled into that little crawl space. Yeah, there's lizards all over the place here. It's sort of like California. It's just, I mean, here's another thing that makes it look like California. It's a cactus. There's, oh, it smells like pot. There's so many cacti here, though. There's so many different, like species of cacti and plants, and there's palm trees, and there's all these things that, you know, and there's even pigeons. There's even pigeons right there, just like in New York, and they walk right up to you. They don't care. They do not care one bit. But it's yeah, they're all right. Okay, sorry, somebody was screaming over there. There's just so many fascinating just sights to behold here. It's really a marvel. And this wall, funny enough, this Mediterranean wall, I'm guessing it's a type of sea wall. I don't know exactly what it is, but it goes along for miles in either direction. It seems like it just lines the entire Mediterranean. Yeah, this is, you just hop in the water, you go swimming, you do your thing, and it's nice to go in the afternoon when everybody's sort of leaving, so around 4 or 5 o'clock. Everybody's heading back to home or whatever, they get back in their cars, so I just take a stroll down here and I'll go into the there we go, and you just head into the Mediterranean. But it's not like the Atlantic. It's nothing like the Atlantic at all. It's much saltier, it's much different, it's not as rough on the skin. It's also not as rough when it comes to like the force of the water. So it's a very calm sea compared to what the Mediterranean is. I mean, compared to the Atlantic Ocean, which is expected because this is a sea which is enclosed on pretty much all sides besides the there you go. Well, it's pretty, but this is all a sea compared to like the Atlantic. This is enclosed on all sides minus the Straits of Gibraltar and the Suez Canal and I guess the whatever they call the strait that goes into Istanbul, but it's all enclosed, so there's not much. I shouldn't say there's not much, but it's not as much force on the water. So it's just it's so interesting, and it's so pretty, and it's so fun to just go and take a swim in the Mediterranean. And it's peaceful, it's relaxing. You just go sit on the rocks and listen to the waves come in. It's cool, but it's not too cold. It's like it's perfect. It's super cool. Do I like it better than the Atlantic? Yes. For me, the Atlantic was way too, not too rough, but sometimes I like something a little bit calmer. This is that. And the Atlantic also was much colder than this. I prefer not warm waters, but warmer waters than what the Atlantic was. And this delivers. And it's just, it's a little bit, it has a different shade of blue that I sort of prefer. The Atlantic has a very dark color blue. This is a light color blue, and oftentimes like a turquoise or a green that you could see all the way down to the bottom with. But enough about the Mediterranean, or me ranting on. Just, it's so beautiful. This whole area is just gorgeous.